So I was driving down the freeway the other day and I saw a Toyota Prius with a pretty clever license plate. It said, "No more V8." I thought that was pretty funny, "No more V8." And then I started thinking, what if I didn't have my muscle cars? What if I had to drive a hybrid? What if I went from a gas guzzler, supercharged V8 to a fuel efficient hybrid? The car that you see behind me is a 2004 Cobra Terminator. This car, from the factory, made about 400 horses. Now this car has been modified, so now it's making close to 600. It also, from the factory, made about 17 miles per gallon, maybe 20 if you are careful with it. After modifications, I get 14 miles per gallon. That is if I drive it like the way a muscle car should be driven. Now, if you baby it, I'm pretty sure you can get a little bit more miles per gallon out of this car. But I wanted to compare what it will be like to have a hybrid for a full week. For my comparison, I was lucky enough to be provided with the hybrid Ioniq EV. I drove the car for a week and I got an interesting experience out of driving. I understood now more hybrids, the whole joy of driving a hybrid, and almost the excitement that you get trying to stretch how far can you go on less gasoline. So I will be comparing the hybrid to this car, or to a muscle car. While it's not a fair comparison, I thought it'd be interesting to see what it's like from a muscle car enthusiast point of view. So with that being said, let's look at the Ioniq. This car comes in 3 different types of models. One is just a hybrid, one is a hybrid EV plug-in, which you can charge, and then one that is fully electric. The one that's electric, you have about 120 miles of range. That car probably won't be good for long trips. That car is mostly meant for staying local. This car, because it combines a gasoline engine and the battery, has an insane amount of range. You're talking about 600 plus miles on range on a single tank, single charge. So this is one of the reasons I find very interesting to compare this car to a car like the Cobra. The Cobra, you have a lot of power, consumes a lot of gas. It's a really cool car from that standpoint. But this is also a very neat car in terms of efficiency. You have the opposite side of the spectrum. This car does not have a lot of power, but it is extremely efficient, where it can give you that many miles in a gas tank. I mean, you could take this car to Vegas and all the way back to California, and you probably still have quite a bit of gas around to drive around. The electric motor of this car only has about 40 horses. The engine provides the remaining 100, so you have a total of 140 horses. Now, when the car is operating on EV mode, which is entirely electric, you're driving on 40 horses. Now, that might not sound like enough, but when you have a transmission on there, the 40 horses is enough to get you on the freeway, get you around the street, so you don't feel like you don't have any power. There is, a nice speed to it with 40 horses. Now, if you try to pass, that's a different story. Then you want to press the accelerator deeper. And if you press the accelerator deeper or a little more aggressive, you'll engage the gasoline engine, which will give you the additional power that allows you to get to that speed faster or allows you to safely pass. And so it's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun to, as I've been driving this car for an entire week, to drive it to work and try to stay on electric mode only. It's a very interesting challenge. You're looking at the gauge inside and you're trying to stay within the EV mode. But once on the way, coming back from work, I depleted the battery, the engine kicks on, the car works as any other car. By the way, this car is on loan to me from a JPL NASA engineer, and that alone to me made me think, well, if it's good enough for an engineer that works on NASA, that means that there's more to me that meets the eye to this car. Well, let's look at it, guys. The Ioniq comes standard with halogen lights and LED fog lights or LED driving lights. And those LED driving lights have a very nice pattern to it. Once you have them on and you're driving down the street, it makes the car really stand out. Now the front of the car is very smooth and very shiny, but if there's one thing I will change about the car styling, it will be the front grille. On the Ioniq EV only car, the one that only goes 120 miles in range, this grill is entirely smooth. So you still have a grill, but it's completely smooth. So that will make cleaning easier. On this car, the Ioniq EV, since you have Ioniq hybrid EV, since you have an engine, you still need to have air cool the engine, has a grill that has a pattern on it that makes it very difficult to clean. There are active louvers in here that will close and open. It will open if your engine needs to cool a little more, and it will close to keep the car aerodynamic. Right now you can actually hear the engines pulling air in as it's trying to keep the car cool. Now the problem with this grill is that, not only, like I said, it's very difficult to clean, is that because of the color of it being a nice shiny black, it makes every single little ding and every single little piece of dirt that's stuck to it really stand out. This car does not have a lot of miles on it, and you can see that this grill has taken quite a beating. So I imagine that this grill is just gonna get worse over time. I wish if they had picked a different design. It's still with the louvers, but not such a difficult design in here where you really have to work hard to clean this thing. The steering wheel on the Ioniq is really nice. I really like it. It feels very nice and solid. There are buttons on it so you can access most of the common functions, and the bottom of it looks really cool. I really love the style. And then it has a flat bottom. This feature is normally only found on sports cars, so this actually is really cool to see this on a hybrid. The center cluster in the Ioniq is pretty nice. You got a nice analog speedometer showing you the miles per hour, and I like this blue band around here. Then you got a digital fuel gauge. On this side you see not only if you have it on P, R, or any of the drive modes selected, and you have a smaller screen on here that shows you some of the menus where you can change things on the car and access additional features. Now this is very informative. This will show you if you are being heavy on the gas pedal and you are starting the gas engine outside of the EV mode, or if it's showing you how aggressive you're driving. If you stay within the eco mode, you're gonna get the best miles per hour, best miles per gallon. If you go into the power area, you're gonna get less miles per gallon. This side shows you the battery state. Once your battery is depleted, then this will show you that you are just on a hybrid mode. To charge the Ioniq EV, you want to hit this port right here, which is located in the front. You press on it and it opens. Once it's open, you can plug it in and begin the charging. The plug that I just connected to the car is fed by this block that's showing you the status of the car being charged. That block is connected to a standard outlet. This is another neat thing that you get to experience with the hybrid, or this particular hybrid EV, coming from a muscle car guy, is that now the fun of charging every night, you don't have to charge that in a muscle car. Well, it's actually, I found it kind of fun to plug it in at night and go to sleep. Now, it also makes you realize, where am I going to charge the car? You have to have it either in a garage, or this cord, which is about 15 feet long, has to reach wherever you park your car at. Because if you use an extension, it can cause problems charging it. So it also gives you an idea of what challenges you will encounter if you're driving a hybrid EV vehicle or a full EV vehicle. Let's talk about the driving experience. Driving this car, it's a big change coming from a muscle car. If I go to turn it on, you get a nice beeping sound, almost like you're booting up your Windows 7 computer. The car is on. It's one of the biggest things that I had to get used to, that I haven't experienced a hybrid before. So when you turn it on, the engine doesn't come on. It's dead quiet. You hear some fans going, maybe you hear some relays clicking, but the engine's not on and the car is ready to go. Even if I put the car into R or D, the engine will still not kick on. So you're moving first in electricity, and then after a certain amount of speed, the engine kicks on. But even when the engine kicks on, it is fairly quiet. Obviously, you don't have a sports exhaust on these cars, so obviously you're not blasting it like the way you would on a muscle car. But that took some time to get used to it. Now, when you're driving this car, like I commute to work in one of my cars that has a loud exhaust. I mean, I like to drive with the windows down. Sometimes I even don't even have music, because I just want to hear the sound of the engine. I just want to hear that exhaust going and everything that's going on with the car. I did something like that with this car. I drove with the radio off and with the windows down, and when the windows up at some point too, because I wanted to hear all those nuances, all those little things. And it was very quiet inside the car, and it also made some interesting noises. Now, when you are also getting heavy on the gas pedal on this car and you're trying to pass somebody, the engine can sound a little bit like it's trying really hard and the car is barely moving. So that's another thing that was kind of interesting on this car, is that the engine makes a lot of noise for what is the car is barely doing. When you're in a muscle car, it's making a lot of noise because most of the time you're going pretty fast. Now, there are some muscle cars out there that are slow and they just make a lot of noise, but that was interesting. And the other thing about the pedal, the accelerator pedal on this hybrid, is that it has almost like a dead zone on it. So, and I think that's meant to help you get used to driving in a way that is efficient. So when you first press on it, there's nothing. I mean, the car maybe moves a little, but there's nothing. You keep going and the car is accelerating, but very gently. So the gas pedal is very forgiving, which I think will help new people to get used to. You gotta drive a little bit slower and a little bit more calm. Throughout the whole week, I did felt like the car was calming me down. I wasn't passing anybody because I was wanting to be gas efficient. I was also very slowly going up and reaching 65 miles an hour, where and you're having a muscle car, you step on it and you're there. So it changes the way you drive. Now, it did make me feel like I was getting later or a little more late to places where I normally would. Sometimes in some of my muscle cars, I fire up the GPS and I see the time and it almost feels like, it's a challenge. I probably can be there before the GPS says I will be there. On this car, I found that every day was the other way around. If the GPS said I was going to arrive at 6:30 a.m., I ended up arriving like at 6:45 a.m. I always arrive later because I was taking my time driving there. Now, driving is also an experience in itself. It doesn't always have to be fast and braking and turning. I think driving is an experience in itself. So it is enjoyable to drive nice and calm and see the sceneries, listen to some music, have the windows down, maybe look at what's if you're by the beach. So I still find it enjoyable. Now, the car also has these little shift paddles. Now, the shift paddles will shift the transmission for you, but the owner of this car told me that the sports mode of this car was very aggressive. It almost seems like you go just from two modes: Eco, which is very, very non-responsive, and then when you switch it to sport, the car is very jumpy. And as I was driving and testing the different modes this week, I have to fully agree with him. I think when you go into Eco mode, yeah, it's kind of dead and it's not really there. No one's home. But when you go into sport, all of a sudden the transmission is holding the shifts longer, and it feels like all of a sudden I put gears on the back on this car, or that I'm really driving in first or second all the time. Just very, very, very torquey, but not accelerating torquey. Just super, super bouncy, I guess. Every time you press the accelerator, it would just set you back. So I don't know if I think it would have been better had they found a medium in between those two. So I think this car is fun to drive it in Eco mode, to drive it as it is supposed to be, as a hybrid EV that's supposed to be efficient. That's what's the fun of this car. Now, coming from a muscle car guy, do I recommend this car? I highly would recommend this car. If you want a spare car so you can just have your car for car shows or for being a weekend car, I think this is a really, really good commuter car. This is a perfect car for going on long trips where you want to save some gas, and also you don't want to maybe stop and refill. This is a really, really good car. And I think the bang for the buck is also really good. When you look at this car retails for about $25,000. Now, the hybrid retails for a little bit less. But because since it comes with the EV mode, you get a rebate. And with the rebate, this actually turns out to be cheaper than the plain hybrid. So this is the version to go. The version that you want to buy is the hybrid EV. Get your rebate and the car will probably pay itself way faster than you think. I mean, this car, after a rebate, will probably be around $20-something thousand. You got a lot of stuff on this car. For a base model, you got the big screen with the big navigation, you got satellite radio, you got all the mirroring that you can do to your phone, so when it interfaces, and you got your CarPlay and also the Android Auto. So you get a lot of bang for your buck. Hyundai does offer a pretty good warranty on these cars. I believe it's 100,000 miles on the drivetrain. So at least you know that the drivetrain itself, the battery, the motor, all of that is going to last you at least 100,000 miles. Any issues will replace those for you. So looking at that from that standpoint, I would definitely buy one of these vehicles. Now you got to also think about the advantages of saving gas. More money in your wallet. More money in your wallet means that you can maybe spend that or splurge that on your muscle car. You can buy more mods to the car. You can drive it to more places without feeling like your wallet has been hit because you're having to go to the and get more gas every time. In here, I feel this car, I feel the gas tank up when I first got it, and I've been recharging every night. I've been recharging, getting my 30 miles electric every day. I'm pretty confident I could drive this car for a month, and if I just kept charging every night, I think the gas will last me a month, if not longer. A similar situation happens with the Prius Hybrid. The Prius Hybrid EV has an engine on it, and because if you stay on electric mode most of the time, you won't touch the gas. So eventually the gas will become stale. So on the Prius, the engine will fire just to burn off the gas, which is interesting. On this car, obviously, because when you want to pass, the engine kicks on. I don't think you run into that problem where you're just going to burn the gas for the heck of it. But it is, it's pretty impressive that you can go for that long without visiting the pump. Now, how long does it take to charge the car? Well, the car comes with a small charger that hooks up to your standard plug. And that standard plug only provides about 12 amps. That's pretty much like the plug everybody has in their homes. That charge for it to be a full charge, will take probably overnight. So I charge the vehicle overnight and it's ready to go in the morning. Hyundai says that charger should only be, well, they recommend you only use it for emergencies. But I'm not sure, how that makes sense. I mean, if it's an emergency, can you wait for the car for 13 hours to have a full charge and then you only get 30 miles in a charge? Yeah, so it seems kind of silly that they say it's for an emergency. I think it's just a slow charger because that's the limits of how much that particular plug can output. Obviously, in some of the chargers that you can find out there in malls, you can charge a little faster, and that will get you a little bit faster recharge times than the standard plug. One thing that's kind of odd though, I did notice that even though I'm not charging the car, if I have the charger plugged in, it does get very hot. And it's not even plugged into the car. It's just plugged into my wall. So I know that the charger block that you get with this car is pulling quite a bit of power without charging anything. So I thought it was kind of a letdown considering how much effort they went into designing this car to be super efficient, that the charger that you hook up to your wall is not efficient because it's sucking up electricity. It's sucking up electricity where it's not even getting the car charged. Some of the cool things that I really like about the car in terms of efficiency, when you look at those little details, are the AC, for example. The AC does not require the engine to kick on. So there's probably some kind of thermoelectric chiller behind here that allows the car to cool the air without turning on a compressor on there. You also have the option to run the air conditioning or the heating on only the driver side. So again, that just goes for efficiency. You don't need to cool down the whole car when you're the only person in the car. So you set that on, and then you're only using a little bit of power what comes out of these two vents. It does have heated seats, and the primary reason why it has heated seats is because in order for the car to provide hot air, it does have to turn on the engine. So this car, unlike some of the fancier cars like a Tesla, but obviously that's going to cost a lot more money, this car cannot output hot air unless the engine is on. So if you want hot air out of here, it will turn on the engine. So if you're trying to stay in EV mode, that's probably going to kill it for you. So you want to use the heaters that are on your seat. Besides that, everything else, like I said, is really cool. So I hope you guys enjoy this look and this, my opinion coming from a muscle car and what it was like for me to go to one of these things for a week. It was exciting for me, and I am going to miss this car. And I am going to miss that extra money that could have been in my wallet had I had this car a little longer. Okay, guys, if you guys like this video, hit thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. So the car is on. Let's see what it sounds like. Like nothing. Dead quiet. You barely hear a fan. Now I'm going to get going. The electric motor. And there goes the gas engine. The gas engine is very quiet. Now we're gonna go from a dead stop, and I'm just gonna go full throttle. Let's see what this insane acceleration feels like. That's full throttle. Woo! Wow, that was actually fun. I heard some tire chirping. So it does have the power when you need it. It is just it makes you feel like you don't have the power, but if you floor it, you will have power on it. Ah, I love that sound, electronic sound. And you hear it too. Here you go, coming to a stop, okay? Yeah, you're coming to a stop now. And you hear that sound a lot if you're only on electric mode. Right now we fully depleted the battery, so the car is relying on the engine more than the battery to move it. But even then, I mean, this is very, very quiet. So now we're gonna do some acceleration, well, full throttle while rolling. Let's see what it does. 1, 2, go. Totally different experience than doing it from a stop. There is a big lag, just like when we did it when it was stopped, about 2 or 3 seconds before the accelerator responds to it, but you don't feel anything, very little acceleration if you're rolling, as if you are doing a full throttle from stop. Obviously you're not going to be doing that at the stoplights, trying to raise the car next to you with this vehicle, but at least it gives you an idea of what this is like versus flooring it on a muscle car. Now, while you're probably not gonna get thumbs up driving this car, or a wave like the way you do when you're driving the Cobra or a Terminator from another Cobra owner, this car, you know, the styling it's conventional, but it's nice. This is a hatchback. The hatchback shape is because it's an efficient shape. It's very slippery. When you let go of the accelerator, the car keeps going. It keeps cutting through the wind. When I let go of the accelerator on the Cobra, you feel the car starts to slow down right away. That is just aerodynamics. Now, the other thing about the styling of this car is that you blend in with the rest of the crowds out there. There are cars like the Prius Prime. I don't understand the styling of that car. I mean, it really looks like a weird car, and I would not like to drive that car, no matter how efficient it is. Now, there are some interesting things that I like about it, like the standard LED headlights versus this, the halogen lights, but I take the styling over this car over the Prius Prime or most hybrids out there.